Onlyfans model lures and kills man she accused of rape years earlier. Cheslea Perkins, aka Selena Savage. Warning: this episode could be upsetting to some viewers, includes strong language and scenes of a sexual nature. Okay guys, this story is crazy, comprising of multiple murders and a suicide, all because of one woman's evil revenge plot. Cuyahoga National Valley Park lies along the Cuyahoga River between the Ohio cities of Cleveland and Akron, preserving the industrial, commercial and rural landscapes along the river. With stunning natural beauties like waterfalls to enjoy, this park seems worlds away from the areas around it. A popular place for a day out and a long walk with the dogs. There are many animals to be seen here, like minks, raccoons, skunks, coyotes and much more. But the animal that has gained most notoriety for being in this very park is the now 35-year-old Cheslea Perkins. An ex-Coast Guard veteran who, like many women it seems these days, turned to Onlyfans and ended up making some very naughty videos with many different men, which of course I cannot show you and haven't watched personally. But yeah, she certainly didn't hold back, you guys. I'm not saying do it, but a quick Google search without child safeguarding on will show you soon enough. But don't do that, of course. She went under the name Selena Savage, and her Instagram is actually still open and active for some strange reason. Well, it was when I wrote this, and I went back to get some photos of her for this episode, and it's literally disappeared. So I don't know if the police took it down or whatever, but I don't think it's there anymore, guys. It's pretty clear to see that for years this woman has had both dark and sexual interests, desires and fascinations, which doesn't really mean anything, but in this story it most definitely does. This was the then 31-year-old Matthew Dunmire, born to his mother Tommy Lynn on the 26th of November 1989. He always had a huge love and passion for music, listening to Frank Zappa with his dad and also realising his obsession with guitar at a very young age, and most of his friends shared his love for music too. It seemed to be a common thing between their friendships. He was originally from Virginia, but at this time he was or seemed to be happy with his long-term partner and children where he lived in a small town in Cleveland, Ohio. His friends described him as extremely loyal and selfless and always there for anyone who needed him. He was very social and met up with his friends often. So of course, when he never returned to his partner and children and also stopped responding to all of his friends, it didn't take long for people to start seriously worrying about the safety and welfare of 31-year-old Matthew Dunmire. And for good reason too, as he had fallen into the clutches of a woman from his past, bent on revenge over something that Matthew seemed or believed was gone and forgotten about. Unfortunately, Cheslea Perkins, aka Selena Savage, certainly hadn't forgotten and held a grudge, one that lasted 4 years, before she made her move across the country, and if I'm correct here, a total of around 8 hours driving. That's how much seeking her revenge really meant to her. She had most definitely not forgotten. So, what had Matthew done so bad to make this woman travel all day across the country, plotting and planning for years just to murder him? Well, if we go back to the year of 2017, this is when everything started to turn bad, and for Cheslea to begin hating Matthew beyond comprehension. Cheslea went to the police and reported to them that Matthew Dunmire, then around 27 years old, had sexually assaulted her, and that she certainly wanted and aimed to press charges on him for it. It seems that her claims were investigated by the police at the time, but for whatever reason, perhaps just not enough conclusive evidence found in the case to go forth and pursue charges on Matthew, it was ultimately dropped. This, of course, does not mean that it didn't actually happen. Who really knows? But this woman festered for a whole 4 years over this, and obviously hadn't let it go. Now, I wondered to myself, did Matthew even know he was accused of rape? Well, it seemed he did, as he denied the accusations made to him. And he was actually left completely shocked and stunned that he could ever be accused of such a crime, claiming that what they did that night was consensual between them both, and this all must be for some kind of personal gain. As we know, many women do try that on, even getting men to have rough sex with them, only to later claim it to be rape. Just like what bloody British tits did in Dexter. Oh, I hate that character, honestly. Her voice, her accent. My brother told me she is actually British and I just can't accept that, because that accent is horrific. One of my favourite shows ever. Probably my favourite show, actually. And to get back at him, British tits tricked and drugged his best friend and colleague and made him give her rough, hard sex and then tried to have him done for rape. It's definitely not uncommon, unfortunately. So, who really knows if it was consensual or forced, but it seems that Matthew really believed that after 4 years, Cheslea had moved on. But far from it. She seemed to despise the man, thinking, how could he rape me and get away with it? People who were close to Cheslea said she could never move on or past what happened to her in 2017. She was apparently haunted by the belief that Matthew had entirely evaded facing what he had done to her. Now fast forward to March the 5th, 2021, and Matthew was out with his friends and colleagues, enjoying his night and being his usual social and happy self at the Tiki Underground, which was a local bar to Matthew. He would often visit this bar, and many people there knew of him. Matthew had mentioned to his friends and co-workers that he had plans on the weekend with a friend all the way from Virginia, who just happened to be passing through Ohio, and therefore reached out to him for them to meet up. He seemed pleased and excited about this, but he didn't actually say that person's name. Around 6 p.m. on the 5th of March, Matthew's phone would receive a message as he was mid-drink with his pals at the Tiki bar. He commented that a girl I know online is here. He stood up from the table saying goodbye to his buddies, them having no idea it would be their last goodbye. As he was leaving the establishment, his supervisor luckily decided he would walk him out and bid him a good day. His supervisor then noticed a small white car that turned out to be a smart car and later determined to be Chelsea's husband's vehicle. Yes, husband. She was even married at this point and still just could not let it go. Oh, and she had 2 kids, by the way. A female with brown hair was sitting and waiting in the smart car for Matthew. It was Cheslea, and Matthew's supervisor would therefore be the last of his friends to ever see him alive. As it's clear, no matter what he believed, Cheslea was no friend of his. She drove hours and hours just to meet him again. It wasn't a fleeting visit on her way to somewhere else. It was a thoroughly thought-out, executed plan. Well, until she got caught, of course. Cheslea wanted to reel Matthew in first. She planned another night with him, booking an Airbnb for them both the night of the 5th of March. I mean, it's so weird. You plan to murder a guy because he apparently raped you, yet you first book a night in a hotel together? Very strange plan. Maybe just to look innocent to the detectives later on? Who knows? Maybe her original plan was to try and get him done for rape again, but she decided that that just wasn't good enough, so she would instead serve her own justice. Maybe she just snapped. Matthew stayed in contact with his loved ones on the night of the 5th, but his last text sent to his partner would be around 10:30 a.m. the morning of the 6th of March. This message read, "Okay, I'll see you in a little while." So he clearly was intending to go home later that day, but sadly he was never heard from or seen alive ever again, apart from by his killer. For him to just disappear and leave his kids like that was certainly out of the ordinary. His partner, already annoyed with him, grew more and more worried. He wouldn't just abandon them like that. No texts, no calls. Where is Matthew Dunmire? Then his friends and co-workers remembered the random girl online who picked him up. Also, his partner must have been somehow aware, because he did send a text to her saying something along the lines of, "Well, I seem to have pissed this girl off now, so..." something like that. Matthew and Cheslea had known each other since high school, just for reference, and were even said to have been friends years before. But at that time, nobody had any idea who this brown-haired female was, or what ungodly plans she had in mind for the music-loving male. As I said, at this point, Cheslea was even married. She had 2 kids and lived in Northern Virginia, far, far away from Mr. Dunmire. So it's not like she bumped into him and all the thoughts and memories of that day came back to her and she snapped. No. She festered over the accusation for 4 years, you guys. That's one hardcore grudge. So who's to say it didn't happen? Let me know in the comments whether you think it did or she's just another female claiming rape. Remember, she was now Selena Savage, someone who clearly didn't hold back, sexually and in every way. I don't agree myself with a married woman with young children doing Onlyfans in general. Not that I judge anyone for it, I just don't agree it's right and would class it as cheating. But man, Selena Savage took Onlyfans to a whole new level, displaying extremely and highly X-rated content and having sex with multiple different men. So whether she was in fact sexually assaulted or not, it didn't put her off dicks, I can tell you that. I don't know how any married man could ever be okay with such debauchery from their wife and mother of their children. But we're all different, and I'm sure those bills were paid a lot earlier. That's all some people give a shit about. Forget morals, integrity, dignity and love. Just shag and get naked and pay those bills. Dear God, what has the world come to? Cheslea had been described as bizarre by one of her ex-Coast Guard shipmates, and even insane by another. She ranked to seaman, but her stay in the Coast Guard was short-lived and only lasted around 3 years. She was around 19 when she joined, and she left in the year of 2012. This is also where she met her husband. Matthew and Cheslea had pretty much not spoken between high school and when they met again in 2017, which is interesting. I wonder why they stopped speaking. Perhaps just drifted apart like most people do. 3 days before Cheslea would murder Matthew in Cuyahoga Valley National Park, she updated her status saying, "Dead man tell no tale." What a dumb bitch. And trust me, she's certainly not the smartest killer. That post was also the same day that she would reach out to Matthew, her accused rapist. I've no idea why he even accepted the request. Never mind trusted her enough to meet up and stay in a hotel with her. She accused you of rape, dude. What were you thinking? I cannot fathom that part, but I'm not victim blaming at all. Perhaps he just had a pure and good heart and really thought she'd forgiven him for the past. Who knows? Again, he never thought it actually happened anyway. 3 days had now passed since the 31-year-old musician was last seen alive by his friend and supervisor, and at around 11 a.m. on the 9th of March 2021, 2 hikers made a horrific and ghastly discovery in the Terra Vista National Study area of the park. This was near a trail and also, quite disturbingly, was located in an old cemetery. Somehow, I don't think that was a coincidence, you guys. Do you? What do they call it now? Like, I can't think of that scene. I've been trying to think of it since yesterday. She took him to a cemetery to murder him. It's quite... I can't think what the saying is. Never mind. A male was found in the grass, wearing all black with fingerless gloves on. Lying beside him was a bottle of water, Aquafina to be precise, as this bottle of water would become pivotal in the case later on, you guys. Officers didn't need to search hard to find out who he was when they responded to the scene, as they found his ID in the pocket of his black jeans. It was, in fact, the missing music lover Matthew Dunmire. He had been shot once in the back of the head, seemingly walking away or ahead of his murderer. I'm sure completely unaware of what was about to happen to him. So that's one good thing, I suppose. He wasn't found tortured for hours with his dick cut off. This seemed very quick. Now you guys, throughout the investigation, the evidence pointing straight towards the savage that is Cheslea Perkins was seriously undeniable and kept building against the now Onlyfans model, Selena. As I said, this dumb bitch really wasn't the smartest murderer at all. From beginning to end. I mean, to start with, she used and utilated her own husband's vehicle to drive more than 300 miles to kill a man. Not even a rental, for fuck's sake. Same license plates, leading straight back to her innocent husband. Wow, she really wanted that revenge, didn't she? So, from the bar that Cheslea picked Matthew up from, all the way to the Airbnb in Cleveland, Ohio, that Cheslea booked in her own name, with her own credit card details, not even cash. The two would be tracked on various CCTV cameras. Just 15 minutes after leaving the bar, the smart car pulled up at a BP gas station, where the cameras to the business saw a young, long-haired man exit the vehicle and enter the shop. This was Matthew Dunmire. He was observed buying some cigarettes, a can of something, and a bottle of water. A bottle of Aquafina water, which would later be discovered next to his lifeless body in the cemetery of the national park. They were tracked heading north through license plate readers and various CCTV, heading straight for that pre-booked Airbnb where Cheslea, aka Selena, planned to sleep with her so-called rapist. It's honestly mind-boggling. But I do have suspicions I shall mention more of at the end, as to why she did that part at all. The Airbnb was located on Ashbury Avenue on the east side of Cleveland in Ohio. Later the same evening of the 5th of March, both the victim and suspect would be seen entering a sandwich shop together. You know, just me and my rapist chilling together, gonna get a sloppy joe next. I mean, what the fuck? The two were then seen returning to the Airbnb, and their phones would place them both there for the entirety of that night. Where, you guys, I can confirm they did indeed sleep together, which I will get into and how I know this and why soon. Investigators uncovered through Matthew's Google Map searches that he even looked up specifically the area of the national park called Terra Vista National Study Area, the exact same place his body would be located just days later by hikers. By 10:15 on the 6th of March, both of their phones would ping off nearby towers, placing them both at the park that morning at the exact same time. By 10:30 a.m, Matthew sent that final message to his partner saying, "Okay, I'll see you in a little while." It was only minutes after this that a couple would hear a clear gunshot sounding from somewhere in the park. They were terrified and ran back to their vehicle, which just happened to be parked nearby to a white, smart car. Next, another couple, completely unaware of the fact a gunshot had just got off in the park, arrived for a morning stroll. As they set off on their walk, they happened to pass a brown-haired female wearing boots, totally inappropriate for a hike or even a stroll in this area, so this caught their attention right away. This was Cheslea Perkins, on her way back from murdering Matthew Dunmire. She headed to her husband's white smart car and set off to a tattoo parlour in an area of Detroit. Yes, to get a tattoo. Probably to celebrate her conquest with a memento on her body. Sick. This would be around a 3-hour drive away. She even posted a photo of her with her new ink and a tattoo artist friend literally hours after she'd executed Mr. Dunmire. So far, her plan is pretty weak at best. She used all of her own information when booking the Airbnb and driving down in her own vehicle. Then all the CCTV of them both together. Now at least 4 witnesses have either heard the gunshot, as it's daytime, so not the best time to choose to murder someone in the morning, a public space many people utilise, or that they actually visually saw her leaving, as what she was wearing that day drew complete attention to her. When Matthew's body was found by the hikers, it was cold, but it hadn't started to decompose yet, showing this crime took place recently to his body being discovered. And remember that all-important bottle of Aquafina water that Matthew was seen purchasing the evening before? Well, this was lying beside his cold body. Cheslea hadn't even taken this with her. She remembered to remove the shell casing though. Investigators discovered not only was Matthew's DNA on the bottle of water, but so was Cheslea's. Her DNA would also be found under his fingernails, although the scene showed no signs of struggle. Well, you know how I mentioned before how I just couldn't get my head around the fact that she booked that Airbnb and how I knew she did indeed sleep with her so-called rapist? Well, that's because not only was her DNA found on the bottle and under Matthew's nails, but also all over his genital area. Yep, she slept with her rapist. What the hell, you guys? So messed up. Like, did she really need to sleep with him to get him to this park? No. Why not just say, let's take a walk first, and just promise sex? So many questions. But I have a few ideas myself. She's leaving clear breadcrumbs all along the way here to be captured. She then headed to that tattoo parlour in Detroit after her dirty deed in the park, where she posted that photo, even commenting saying, "What a great weekend. I got a little blast from the babe in her sick-ass new shop. So proud." I'm wondering, is it the tattoo on her forearm that's the new one? Her trophy ink? If so, I'm really struggling to read what it says, if anyone can figure that out and let me know in the comments. But it looks like a rope tied like a noose with blood. So that says a lot, really. A great weekend, hey? I think she's actually proud of herself here, not her friend. And that "I got a little blast from the babe" makes no sense. The little blast could easily be referring to the one shot it took to end Matthew's life. That's how I see it. I do read into everything a lot though. This post is calculated to me, with hidden meanings, a celebratory post to herself, probably fuck all to do with her tattoo babe. What do you all think of this then? Just hours after committing murder she posted this. Definitely more hidden depth to it, if you ask me. She's not affected by what she's done, she's not freaking out, panicking, trying to get home. Nope, she's going straight to that appointment that she made and taking photos and posting words like proud and blast. I'm sorry, but she's definitely talking about herself. CCTV and ANPR checkers had followed her and her husband's smart car all the way from Ohio to the tattoo parlour. Breadcrumbs, baby. By the 30th of March 2021, police had caught up with Cheslea and turned up to her residence in Arlington with a search warrant in hand, looking for guns and also any digital devices that she owned. They found 3 guns, all 9mm caliber, which matched the bullet that killed Matthew. Well, one gun in particular matched perfectly. This was found in Chelsea's own bag, right next to her ID, along with a receipt all the way from Ohio. Now, this is a hell of a lot of evidence against this one woman specifically. Police had searched all of her devices and social media, and they found that post just 3 days before the murder of Dead Man Tell No Tale. Then, how she instantly decided to reach out and reconnect with Matthew, the man she claimed to have raped her. A clear motive right there. They knew they were together from the CCTV. She was seen by witnesses leaving the area just after the shot rang out, and her car was seen on the car park. They had her DNA on the bottle of water and Matthew's body himself, plus the bullet matched her gun perfectly. The digital forensics team found even more evidence linked to her devices, like deleted Facebook posts with Mr. Dunmire. It showed that she then unfriended him straight after the murder took place, and even deactivated her Facebook account. Obvious or what? They even uncovered a strange and damning deleted note that Cheslea had comprised, but clearly it's not from her point of view. It's as if she were writing a suicide note from Matthew himself. And it said this: "If you're reading this, it is too late. I'm sorry I beat you and raped a couple of chicks years ago. I'm a shitty person and I paid for my sins in blood." She's clearly pretending to be Matthew, admitting to the rape, and years ago she's obviously referring to herself and what happened to her. Well, she never used this note. In fact, it was deleted after the murder. Perhaps she realised you can't kill yourself by shooting yourself in the back of the head from a distance and then remove the shell casing. Or she just thought against using it. Either way, that's pretty damning. And again, it just shows the mind of her, like, comprising a list from his point of view, and what was she going to do with that list? And just those words that she used in that tattoo post. Yeah, hidden depths. So, open and shut case here, you guys? Obviously she did it, and they need to arrest her swiftly before she could do anything else. Well, for some strange, weird-ass reason, she was not arrested immediately. In fact, it took around 9 months for them to do so, and in that time, another horrific death would take place, plus an attempted murder, all because of Cheslea Perkins, but perhaps not how you may expect it. The fact it was clear that Cheslea Perkins, aka Selena Savage, had committed this horrific act, and that many people knew about this and who she was in the end, was utterly detrimental. Matthew Dunmire's mother was of course absolutely and completely heartbroken to hear this woman had gunned down her son in broad daylight, and each and every day that passed that Cheslea was left free on the streets just killed her inside. Each second felt like an hour. She couldn't think of anything else. Why aren't they arresting her? She couldn't wait a second longer for justice for her son, and decided to take matters into her own hands. Grieving and furious, the police hadn't acted. Tommy Lynn Dunmire started to investigate herself, and as time passed by, it took a complete toll on her mental health. It consumed her. It was literally her life. She stopped eating and sleeping, and her mental health began to deteriorate, as her life was now completely consumed with trying to find Matthew's killer. And you know what? She was on the right tracks, thinking that it must be either an ex-girlfriend or a female from her son's past. Tragically though, you guys, the female that she was so sure of wasn't Cheslea. But that didn't stop Tommy Lynn. She was sure at this point. As I said, her mental state was really, really poor. And along with Matthew's father as the driver, she set in motion a plan that would unravel horrifically and end so terribly. She designed herself as a UPS driver and travelled all the way to Washington, D.C., where she believed that her son's killer definitely lived. They arrived at the home of an innocent woman, but nothing was stopping Tammy as she knocked on the front door of who she thought was Chelsea's home. Under her UPS jacket, she was holding a gun. The female answered the door, and without further hesitation, Tommy shot the woman in her abdomen twice. Luckily, she did actually survive to tell the tale, but the same could not be said for Matthew's heartbroken mother. It's so sad. She fled the scene in the vehicle alongside Matthew's father, probably instantly regretting her own actions and what she had just done. But who knows? Either way, she couldn't take it back, and now the police were after her. They were later stopped, and when Matthew's father, John, was being questioned by the police, with God knows what going through her head, but seeing no way out, Tommy decided to shoot herself and end her own life right there in her car. Just so tragic, but thank God that woman survived, eh? John Dunmire would later receive a sentence of 3 years and 6 months in prison for the part he played in the attempted murder and basically being the getaway driver. He was released in March of 2025, but now has to live the rest of his life without both his wife and his son. I think they were together, I am actually not sure on that bit. So Cheslea had continued to live her free life, where she would keep posting on social media like these photos, which are very disturbing, knowing what we know about her. But the law did finally catch up to her, and on the 9th of December 2021, a whole 9 months after the murder took place, police would once again arrive at Chelsea's door, but this time to arrest her for Matthew's murder. Despite all of the mounting evidence against her, like the videos of them together, her bloody DNA on his genitals, everything else they found, plus her clear motive for revenge, Cheslea Perkins would continue to lie about what happened, straight up denying ending Mr. Dunmire's life. It was obviously her, and clearly premeditated. Her phone even placed her at the scene. The evidence is just, you cannot deny it. But she did. She drove over 300 miles and booked both an Airbnb for her and her rapist plus victim, and her tattoo appointment for after the murder. With all the evidence against her, I've no idea what she thought would happen. She was placed in jail until the trial took place and was denied bail. Charged with first-degree murder and firearms charges on federal land, being the national park where the murder took place. If convicted, she faced life in prison plus 10 years. That always makes me laugh. Like, how can you do another 10 years if your life's ended? Now, Cheslea Perkins was actually offered a plea deal to admit to the murder and to spare her life in jail. This was between 27 and 31 years behind bars, meaning she would then be around 65 years old when released. But, for whatever reason, perhaps thinking she could still get out of this somehow, Cheslea decided to reject the plea deal. But she did then later have a change of heart. Did she finally realise all the evidence proved her guilt? Perhaps so, because on the 28th of May 2025, Cheslea pleaded guilty to murder in the second degree and discharging a firearm during a crime on federal property. So yes, she did eventually admit to the murder of Matthew. Sorry, this dog's going absolutely mental in my street right now. I don't know how long they've been barking on this episode. Oh, God. Please do not ruin my episode, little darky bugs. Darky bugs. Barky dogs. Okay, sorry, I'll carry on and hopefully they weren't barking for too long. So yeah, she did eventually admit to the murder of Matthew. She appeared quiet. They're barking again. Shh. Finally, I've heard an owner go, come on, shut up, making my dog kick off now. Let's have a drink. Almost frozen Vimto is so good. With like a bottle of Vimto in the freezer. Wait till it starts getting bits of ice in it. Oh, so nice. You don't have Vimto in America, do you guys? Oh my god, they're still at it. Okay guys, let's try and continue. She appeared... Oh my god, I'm about to lose my shit. Someone's laughing now. It's like they're laughing at me. Please, can you politely fuck off so I can carry on with my audio? I'm going to keep trying. She appeared quiet and timid in court, answering mainly a yes or no to the US District Judge Solomon Oliver. She would softly answer only a yes to Judge Solomon of whether or not she killed Mr. Dunmire and used the 9mm gun. This new plea agreement for the judge to agree to would see Cheslea face only 20 to 25 years behind bars. The plea happened less than a week before she was scheduled for trial, where she would have faced the mandatory life in prison plus the 10 years for the first-degree murder. Prosecutors actually decided to drop the first-degree murder charge as part of the new plea agreement, so it's second-degree murder instead, and 20 to 25 years. So that's actually like 25% less than her first offer that she rejected. How the fuck did that work out for her? All because she admitted to what they already knew she had done. Fucking explain that one to me. Crazy to me, that is. I mean, it's not like they had no body and were desperate for information to find Matthew. Why was she even offered a plea agreement? I don't get it. A sentencing date for the case was set by Judge Solomon Oliver for September the 9th, 2025, so we will have to wait and see if the plea gets accepted and what time she faces in federal prison for killing 31-year-old father Matthew Dunmire. I'm unsure on his kids' ages, but I know that Chelsea's children, or I think this, were just 7 and 9 when she committed the crime of murder, and now face the next at least 20 years without their mother. But that's nothing compared to Mr. Dunmire's family, and how they all, including his children, face the entirety of the rest of their lives without both him and his mother, Tommy Lynn Dunmire. It's not like they can go and visit them in prison like they can Cheslea. Just a crazy and tragic case all around, really. One woman's decisions cost 2 lives and nearly a third, leaving 2 families both lost, heartbroken and full of anger and questions, probably never to be answered. So, who's to say whether the alleged rape back in 2017 took place or not, as at least one person involved is now not a part of this world anymore. And I'm not going to say whether I think it did happen or not, but it seems that Cheslea Perkins certainly did. As even though she was then married with 2 kids and a whole 4 years or more had passed, she still went to such extremes and an extensive plan just to get her revenge, knowing she could leave her children and family behind in doing so. Her karma over Matthew, her pure revenge against the man she believed had abused her, was more important than any of that. So maybe it did in fact happen. After everything you've heard in this case today, what do you all think? Do you think Matthew did rape Cheslea back in 2017? She really meant to such an extent, so... But why the fuck, if he had you guys, would she ever think of sleeping with him again? Never mind driving 8 or more hours just to actually do so. She really didn't need to. So what was that all about then? Well, I have my suspicions, and one theory of mine is that she may never have actually planned to commit murder. I know she took a gun, but many people in America stay armed. I reckon her original plan may have been what I mentioned earlier, where I referred to that episode of Dexter, how the woman got the man to have rough sex with her and then claimed rape. He managed to get away with it once, but not this time. And she may have planned to report him after their Airbnb stay, because, come on, what other reason could she have ever had to sleep with him that night? It just makes no sense. That's the confusing and most questionable part in this whole entire case for me. One thing we know for sure is that Cheslea Perkins certainly did end Matthew Dunmire's life in Cuyahoga Valley National Park back in 2021, and that she did it for revenge. Some people, including her friends, believe she should be freed. I saw one post where at the end the female just wrote, "Moral of the story is, #free Chelsea." Others hashtagging things like freedom and justice killing. And I've seen her loyal friends advocating for her too. One friend has made a GoFundMe to raise money for Chelsea's books and to free her. Then I saw that someone had set up a GoFundMe on Chelsea's behalf, where, within her words, "Hey all, this is a fundraiser for that girl who killed her rapist. Let's make her stay more comfortable. Donate to support Chelsea Perkins' commissary and comfort." And to be honest, fair enough, if people truly believe she was taken advantage of, which her pure vengeance seems to support, then it's no surprise that she has loyal supporters and friends behind her. She did what most people would want to do to their rapists. And I do believe that at least she believed it happened. Maybe she was just really drunk that night, woke up and couldn't remember, so believed that he must have taken advantage of her. But that doesn't actually mean he did. As we all know, we can never believe some of the things that we do when we're intoxicated. I also think that Matthew thought it was consensual, as why would he ever meet up with her again like he did if he truly had raped her? But again, why would she ever purposely decide to plan to go through with sleeping with someone who did that to her when she really didn't need to, just to get him alone? Why not go for a walk in the dark the night before to kill him then, before sex? So many questions. But that's why I feel that her initial plan may not have been to kill Matthew, but instead to try and get him done for rape. Also, this could be why there were so many breadcrumbs, so much evidence, and not much of an attempt to hide what she was doing or what she had done. In a way, she would want to be seen and leave evidence with CCTV and DNA on him to prove he'd taken advantage of her. Do you know what I'm saying, guys? I think she straight up snapped. Probably thought she could handle sex with him to capture what she needed, but she couldn't. Maybe it brought all the rage she had back to the forefront and reminded her just how much she despised him. Killing him in the Airbnb really would have got her caught. So instead, before Matthew would leave to go back to his family, she suggested a walk in the National Valley Park. As I said before, she certainly wasn't dressed for it. In knee-high boots, that's for sure. And also, Matthew's phone showed how he had Google mapped it just before. This was her last chance. Rape charges that could easily get dropped again. That just wasn't enough for her. She had to end his life before she went back home. And so, she did just that. I just wanted to say I'm sorry if there's been a lot of background noise in this last part of the video. I had to do my audio in sections, and this last part has had people making noise outside, dogs barking, my fiance is doing the dishes, so I apologise for any background noise there. Now, I would just love to know what your thoughts on this case are. Do you think he did it? Do you believe that what Chelsea did was Matthew's just desserts? Do you think that Tommy should have been more patient and waiting for the police to arrest Chelsea? Drop me your thoughts in the comment section below. And I really hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode and also hanging around to the end too. You legends. This was a crazy case that played out like a movie and still has not yet concluded. I have many mixed feelings and thoughts on this one, but I shall leave it there. Thank you again for being here. Until next time, Random Jam.